Hey everybody! Today EG released a little bit of a bomb. There was a huge dispute just recently when IdrA insulted kind of the entire community and his fans on Team Liquid, and there was also of course a bit of aggression going on when he left the games at WCS, or the game against Poland. And today EG reacted to the complaints about IdrA and released him from his contract. So EG now without IdrA, IdrA without EG, and this situation is really quite something. IdrA has quite a history of being kind of a hothead, being a little bit aggressive in his statements, not only on his stream but also on ladder against his opponents. And of course in big tournaments he also has a history of kind of leaving games where he's in a bit of a lead. But this was definitely something that was quite unexpected. One of the biggest charms of IdrA definitely is that he is drawing a huge crowd. He has a lot of fans, he has a lot of supporters just because of his controversial personality. And EG was always one of those teams who did a very good job in marketing, who has a lot of just personalities, esports personalities on their roster, on their lineup, and they do an amazing job in marketing, and of course something like this also helps them quite a bit. IdrA apparently has taken it a little bit too far, and one of the big reasons, as mentioned earlier, was just the recent happening that we had when he stated on Twitter, and I'm quoting, "Nope, you're just all a bunch of fucks. I just so happen I get paid to treat you like it. It's fucking awesome." And EG, in their statement, they talked a little bit how that was just taking it a step too far, that they usually try to give their player quite a lot of room to develop their own personality. They are not too worried about players being very direct, being very straightforward and expressing themselves online, but that it's always one thing if you do that towards an opponent and if there's some banter going on, or on the other hand, if you do that towards an entire community which enables you to play the game on a professional basis and where you get your money from in the first place. So EG with a very tough decision here, and definitely not an easy one. IdrA has been on the team for nearly 3 years right now, and it's the biggest controversial topic that we have currently in the StarCraft 2 community, I would say. The thread has been immediately top one on Reddit, at least on our StarCraft, and Twitter is full of it. We have so many people just talking about it. Adam of MLG, he tweeted and he said that he's really sorry that IdrA got released from EvilGeniuses, but on the other hand, he can understand the decision, at least that's what I'm reading from the tweet. He said though that IdrA is a bit of a hothead, but at the same time also one of the nicest persons that he has met in at MLGs, and I kind of have to agree with that. IdrA, when you meet him in an offline event, is very, very different to the IdrA that you see online when he insults opponents, argues about balance, and in this case insults an entire community. So if you have the chance to talk to him one-on-one, he's a really nice fella, and it's always a little bit surprising to see that he goes so overboard online. And for a long time, people were talking about that they think it's only because he is marketing himself that way. It gives him a lot of exposure, it gives him also a lot of attention, which results in him having a lot of stream viewers, a lot of fans, a lot of Twitter followers. But this time, apparently, he took it a little bit too far, even for EG to deal with it. So EG releasing him from his contract, and IdrA now without a team. And of course, one of the biggest questions that everyone has is, where will he finally end up? People are speculating about it and are saying, okay, probably he's going to get a private sponsor, maybe also only relying on his own Twitch chat for, not Twitch chat, but Twitch stream, of course, for quite some time, and being more of a streamer than actually a tournament guy. But there are all kinds of rumors going around. One of the teams that he was kind of connected with, just on a rumor basis, so this is not actually like a thing, but people were joking a little bit about when Alliance is going to pick him up. Alliance, a team that was just recently formed, and the only StarCraft player that is currently on the roster is actually Naniwa. The team was brought in connection with EG, so that would just being EG shifting a player from one team to another one that they are affiliated with. Don't really think this is gonna happen, but the question of course remains, who can actually pick up IdrA and add another player like this to their roster. First of all, you have to have a lot of money, because IdrA definitely doesn't come cheap. He is a player who is used to have a huge salary and who also draws a lot of attention, so that kind of justifies it. He doesn't bring in the results that you would expect maybe from him, but on the other side, he is just a player who has a lot of followers, has a lot of attention around him, so that is also worth quite some money. And the problem is, of course, if you bring IdrA into your team, can you deal with the way that he markets himself, and can you deal with the way that he acts online towards the audience, towards his opponents, and towards the community. And that's something that most teams can't really deal with. Like, for example, could never see IdrA now joining Team Liquid or, let's say, mousesports. Both teams really rely heavily on their reputation, and you can't pick up a player who bad manners or bad mouths his opponent all the time. So definitely a bit of a topic where people are speculating. There was also the idea if IdrA might maybe go back to Korea, which I personally think would be a great idea if he can manage to find a team where he can stay. But he stated in previous talk shows that he has no real plans of going to Korea, just because of how fierce the competition over there is, and that it's quite difficult, or doesn't really make a lot of sense for a player from NA to go over to Korea to try to make a living over there. On the other hand, IdrA was quite successful when he was in Korea. It definitely helped his play style. So in regards of his play, it might be a good idea, but in terms of exposure, it's probably not the best move. Also, with the streaming hours that he has, if he would go to Korea, he would lose a lot of his Twitch viewers. At least that's what people would expect. On the other hand, it would give him a little bit more exposure. He could maybe step up his game a bit and then be once again one of the main competitors, at least for the North American scene. It's a pretty difficult topic though, and everyone was kind of surprised when the news was announced by EvilGeniuses today. Everyone expected that there might be some kind of reaction, but certainly only a few people seem to have expected EG to go all the way, release him from the team, and basically kicking him off the team. Even the players from EG had apparently no idea. In Control was also on State of the Game, and he didn't really look like he knew what was going on when the news was published. Same goes for a lot of the other players. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens to IdrA right now. I guess we're going to see over the next few weeks what's going on. Players like Cass have been stating on Twitter that they don't really think IdrA will be picked up by one of the bigger teams, because in his opinion, IdrA does not have the skills to actually win a tournament. And he says that the biggest problem with IdrA is just the way he behaves. So definitely a very interesting situation that we have right now in the StarCraft 2 community, disregarding, of course, everything that's going on with WCS, hosted by Blizzard these days. But at the same time, something that I'm very curious about what's going on in maybe 4 weeks, maybe a month or two. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see where he's going to end up. If you have any ideas, if you have any suggestions what he should do, what you think he will do, then leave a comment on YouTube. You can of course also subscribe to the channel, and it's gonna be quite the topic for quite some time, I would believe, and I have no idea where IdrA is going to end up. I think he's probably gonna join a team, but I feel maybe getting a personal sponsor would be the best move for him. But at this point, a lot of people are quite a bit at a loss. I did not expect EG to get rid of IdrA. EG and IdrA, that was kind of one of those things that was just around for an eternity right now in StarCraft 2. It was also kind of funny that EG IdrA was an acronym for I Raged, which was always a little bit funny because it described his online personality quite well. But for now, he's teamless, and we're gonna find out within the next few weeks or months where he will end up eventually. So it's gonna be an interesting trip, and of course I'll keep you updated on what happens to him. Bye bye.